Hello and welcome to episode 17 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all things Nintendo. Sean will not be joining us this week, but in his place we have Momo
G'day, legends. Thank you for having me back again.
and Harrison is here as well.
Hey guys, welcome back.
So, pretty sure what I texted you guys this week is I think it's a good idea to just kind of skip news for a week and maybe talk about one of the biggest things going on in Nintendo, which is Tears of the Kingdom. We all finally had almost a full week now with the game. I think this could be our Tears of the Kingdom episode. We finally got some hands-on experience.
Yeah, lots to talk about that game.
I have so many thoughts. Like this was the most difficult note taking week because I not only have I been avoiding most media the past 2 weeks, I just have so many thoughts already. Like just so many thoughts.
Too. I have so many thoughts for feeling like I barely have made it anywhere in the game. You know what I mean? Like I can't even imagine how many thoughts I'd have by the end of it.
I echo what you just said about I'm probably about anywhere between 15 to 20 hours in, and to be honest, I haven't, besides doing the first when you get off the tutorial area and doing the unlocking the first tower to just initiate the free roaming and stuff like that. I have not done any other story. Like I've literally just gone around and just been trying to get armor sets and I've been doing side quests and side adventures. I haven't even been down to sorry, I haven't even been down to the depths yet. Like I've just been free roaming and just getting lost in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, and I've noticed, and I mean, I'm a typical like millennial. I have to look up like everywhere I go on my GPS and everything, and set pinpoints on maps and games. Like obviously, not to get too spoilery, but we know there's the depths, we know there's the Sky Islands, and not only is it the vastness of those things, but they have changed Hyrule enough to where there's parts of it that are unrecognizable. Like when I shoot down from the sky, I'm like, oh yeah, like that's Hyrule. But when I actually am like walking around, there's times where I'm like, what area is this exactly?
When I got to Kakariko Village, I kind of came at it from a weird angle, but I had no idea I was there. And then like the text came on the screen and I was like, really? And then I looked down and saw the houses and stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, this is Kakariko Village. I didn't even know where I was.
Yeah. It's just been so enjoyable. Like typically I will open a game and I'll know pretty much what I'm going to do or like what I want to play or something. I've played only about 12 hours throughout, I think, 5 play sessions. And every time I open the game, I just open it and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have no idea, but I'm just going to go in some direction and find something until I'm done playing.
I think a good idea for the beginning here, since I do like this game, obviously, throwing that out there. I'm not trying to rain on the parade, but I did take a couple of notes on some of the things I wasn't too keen on. And I think maybe if we did them at the beginning, it would help the podcast end on a positive note and people won't walk away from this episode thinking, how could they not like that game? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe we should get our complaints or whatever you want to call them out of the way in the beginning.
Yes, and I love it. I love the game. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's some negatives that I took some notes on this week from my point of view. So I feel like Breath of the Wild offered a little bit more freedom than this game does for a couple of things. For example, when I first finished the tutorial area and you jump down off that sky island, the first thing I saw on Hyrule Field was a tower. So I'm like, sweet, gonna get some map data. So I spent like 20 minutes fighting my way past a bunch of bokoblins It was just like giant base, like full of them. There was like probably like I feel like 20 of them. And then it took everything in me. I probably died like twice doing it. Finally got them all done. And then as soon as I had finished them all, the blood moon hit and they all came back. So I had to do it all over again. And then when I finally got them all done a second time, I go over to the tower and you can't get map data yet. And I'm like,
Oh,
wait,
because
what?
you
have to
haven't
do
followed.
the
Yeah,
quest.
yeah.
Exactly. So I that was kind of like that kind of I was like, well, Breath of the Wild didn't have anything like that. There was also a shrine I discovered towards the beginning that I had to come back to because I didn't have my sailcloth or whatever the glider
Paraglider,
yet.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
which paraglider, yeah, sorry.
Yep.
And
I know
sailcloth
exactly which one.
skyward sword. But yeah, you needed it for it and I didn't have it yet. So that was like two moments right up front where I was like, well, this isn't completely do anything in any order like Breath of the Wild was. And I'm also like some of the new mechanics, I don't know, maybe they just need to grow on me, but so far, and this is going to sound like I'm hating on the whole game. I'm really not. There's different ways to play. But I'm not really too into building things and I'm not really too into the fuse mechanic because I don't know, I just like I prefer the swords to look like a normal sword and maybe later in the game there'll be some stronger swords or whatever, but doesn't seem like it. So, yeah.
It sounds like you like the traditional stuff. Like you just keep it traditional. You get the stronger
Yeah.
weapon. I get what you mean. For just to go back to the start when you got off the island. So for me, I had a completely different feeling. I jumped off, landed straight into a lake or pond or whatever, and then as soon as I walked straight, I was already at the landing lodge, and then I
Well, maybe
unlocked
that's
the
how you.
first tower.
Maybe I jumped off wrong. Maybe I
No,
wound
no,
up
no. Well,
in a
no.
space
Well,
you're not supposed to be.
I just assumed. I just assumed for some reason. I just assumed go to. I just looked at Hyrule like roughly where
Uh-huh.
the center of the map was, and I thought, you know what, stuff it. I'll just jump up and go there. And then I wandered into this place, and I did quit. And then I got the paraglider. I got this straight away. I didn't fight anyone straight away. I went straight, and I got the first tower done, the paraglider done, and I was off. So like that, and I think that's the beauty where your start, where you had a blood moon. I didn't have a blood moon till I was like 5 hours into the game.
I thought
Like,
about that. I thought I was like, I wonder if they give it to you on your first night automatically.
nah,
But then I realized, you know what? It
it's random.
probably depends on how much time you spend on the tutorial Sky Island.
It
I don't
does.
know.
It should be every. Is it every 8 hour? Wait, no, every 3 hours. No, I don't know.
Yeah, but
Well, I
the
can
the
tell
thing
you, it came for me at the most inopportune time.
but the thing I noticed as well is when the blood moon, say the blood moon's coming, you can see it, and if you're in the Sky Island, you're not affected by it. But as soon as you jump down to the Hyrule ground, like the middle ground, that's when the blood moon takes effect. So when you're in the sky, I saw the red, nothing happened.
Uh-huh.
But then when I paraglided from the Sky Islands down to Hyrule, that's when the blood moon it did all its effect, and then Princess Zelda came up and did her thing, and then it did all the blood moon's stuff, and then so like when you're in the sky, I just saw the red moon and nothing happened, and then but when I jumped down onto the main, so the system must be when you're in actual back on Hyrule itself, that's when the assets in that door that clean up and reset, like that's what the game's doing. It's like cleaning up and resetting things. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I had a similar experience as Momo, in the same way where I had done two shrines, and then I was in that landing area when they're like you have to find Pura, and I was like, oh,
Yep.
like and originally. I said, okay, I'm going to come back because I'm not doing any main game parts. Like my goal is to avoid all of that for as long as possible. But then I realized I needed the paraglider, so then I went back. So because I was like, well, it's probably somewhere in there. Because everyone in the town saying, "Oh, you have to go talk to her. You need to go talk to her." And I was like, "Okay." So I had a similar experience as that, and I had no idea that was actually something that we had to do.
Well, I guess but the thing is, like, I feel sorry that, anyone that didn't land near the first bit of the game where you unlock the first tower where you need to be, where Pura is, because they're probably thinking, oh, I found a tower, I did all this hard work, get there. Why can't I not activate it? So you're probably not the only one that's probably got a bit of frustration early game. And like and then on top of that, you had a blood moon. And then obviously you're fighting all these people that you're probably fighting like bokoblins and stuff like that you're probably at this point of time, you don't have enough weapons that are strong enough, and it's going to take you a lot of effort. And you did all that effort, and then Blood Moon happened, had to do all that effort again, and then you finally make it to the tower.
There was a spike ball. Luckily, there was a spike ball there that I was using the hand tool. I'm blanking on the name.
You mean the rewind?
I used rewind at first, yes, to send it back up the ramp at them, and then I was just kind of putting it up in the air and dropping it on them. Mm-hmm. And
Ultra
also
hand.
there was because there was a lot of explosive barrels in there, so that helped me a lot. I also fused a bunch of explosive barrels together, and used that as a weapon. So there's a good tip for people out there: you can make a giant bomb. Well, one more, just my only last complaint. And this is something that Breath of the Wild also did, but since this is a follow-up game, I feel like they could have improved on this. I don't like when I'm talking to an NPC and they give you a dialogue option, but there's only one option there, so it's pointless. You know what I mean? Because what happened was I was talking to an NPC and I saw a part of the sky fall down, so I want to go over there and use my reverse thing on it. But instead, I'm stuck talking to this person that I don't have any interest in what they're saying. I can already see they're not giving me a quest or anything. And it just keeps going and going and going and giving me dialogue options, but they're not really options. There's only one thing there. And I'm like, when do I get to the part where I get to say goodbye? Like, so yeah, don't do that anymore.
I wish you should be able to like speed through it or or like cancel out at any time. And then if you made a mistake, then go back and then you know what I mean. You can go back in and talk to them again. Like if you feel like this conversation's going nowhere, and you're like, this is maybe just like giving you like maybe this NPC just kind of giving you a hint in the area or something to do or something. Like give you a hint to point you in the right direction, but you don't care about it. You should have the option just to be like B or like exit out or speed through. Yeah.
It was the guy holding up the sign, so I think he might be telling me something important. And I'm gonna have to go back.
That was hilarious. That's so funny. that was the.
And then I ended up going back to him and trying to see if I could fuse things to his to the thing to help the sign stay up. But
that was so funny because I was like, okay, whatever, dude, and I left, and then I saw him again, and I was like, oh, like we're supposed to help him.
I'll figure it out.
Because I was thinking, because it was just something silly, like, oh yeah, just let it go, just okay, all right, see you later, man. Like, because I don't know, I guess at the time I was thinking, it's gonna go do something else, but yeah, I totally agree. I think as far as NPCs go, I think they're my favorite in Zelda out of any of the Nintendo games, but they haven't figured it out as far as other maybe AAA games that I've played before, where things are just a little bit more seamless. And guys, I have to tell you, and I'll bring it up just one time today. I've been thinking a lot about Pokemon this week, playing this game. I think it's because it's the last like Nintendo game I played, the last new one I played before this, and I can't help but think like, what if we had a Pokemon game at this level, or using this map or this sort of mechanic or this just sort of approach to
be honest, if they make a Pokemon game like that, I'm going to tell you now, just go back to the first 150 Pokemon or 300 and then cap it at that and then do it. Put all your effort into making the game instead of like having like 900 plus Pokemon you have to deal with.
one thing I thought while playing Scarlet and Violet along those lines is I was like, I would like to see a Pokemon game that has just original Pokemon in it.
Yes,
Like
please.
they're new, nothing from any of the other games woven in. You know what I mean?
No
Just
teapot. No more teapot Pokemon,
Yeah.
please.
go to like make the region, well, I guess they're all kind of their own little island. So you could totally say that these Pokemon are unique to this area and it doesn't have anything from anywhere else. And I don't know. I think not. It wasn't that I didn't like seeing other Pokemon in Scarlet and Violet. I just think that would be a cool return to the beginning of the series.
and and Nintendo, like I know you're watching those videos. I know you like to take ideas from other fans and then incorporate them, which I think is really cool. They already make Zelda mods with Pokemon. Just 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 throwing that out there. Like it already exists at some level. Like you'll see people riding around like on a Charizard. Um, like literally like you could literally take Hyrule, throw in 150 Pokemon, and that's it, and like throw like $60 on it and be like, here, and we would eat it up. Like we would eat it up. So I digress. This is not about Pokemon. I just wanted to say I've been thinking a lot about my experience and my overall frustration with the Pokemon game. Um,
Well,
yeah.
yeah. Well, last thing I want to say about Pokemon is that after like, I lost interest in Pokemon after I got to like 500 Pokemon. My wife plays Pokemon religiously, so I see her. She gets all the new games and stuff like that, and then I'm happy for her. But for me, I think it's just gone so diluted. They're running out of ideas to the point where, like I said, making up shit like teacup, part of my language, like teacups as Pokemon and stuff like that. Just give us, obviously, myself and assume you gentlemen have grown up in the era when Pokemon first came out. When I was a kid, Pokemon, when it first came to the West and how big it was, you know, that first 150 Pokemon to 300 to me will be the greatest Pokemon. Anything beyond that, I'm sorry, I don't care about. That's why for me, if they went back to they redid like Pokemon Yellow, like in an open world or something like that, I'll throw $70 down for it. I would eat it up. But at the moment,
Well,
for
the
me,
Switch did have Let's Go Pikachu, which was kind of a remake of Yellow,
yeah,
but it was like very
yeah,
simplistic. And
yeah,
I haven't actually played it, but all the reviews I saw said like the difficulty is almost non-existent in that version. So
Oh,
it's
yeah,
almost like
of
they
course.
they missed an opportunity there.
yeah,
Well,
true.
well, we've talked prior about how I think both of our opinions are is that Pokemon has missed the opportunity for implementing different difficulties in their games. Um, just because if you do one difficulty, we have to cater to the masses and we have to cater
Yeah.
to younger audiences, and we totally get that. But it's but I think the scaling and the difficulty can just be changed. I mean,
Yeah, because players like me, I honestly don't like. I wasn't put off by that, but I could see how other players would be when I read it. I kind of like being able to steamroll the competition and have almost like a power fantasy. Like I told you, I go into everything in every RPG over leveled.
yeah.
Like if
That's the
if
spirit.
if I'm playing Final Fantasy, like I'll make sure that I level up like 10 levels before I go to the next boss. Like I'm always just like a powerhouse.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's the way you like to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. We
And if there's like a new game plus or any other way for me to gain an advantage, I love that too.
Uh, can we go back to the mechanics? Because you mentioned that like the fuse ability and right I get that, like, yeah, you want things to kind of look more original, but I haven't. I feel like I'm not going to really scratch the surface too much on my first playthrough as far as what we can completely do, as far as what the new mechanics are. But
You
For
can Tony Hawk it. Did you see that? I know you love those games.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
yeah, oh yeah. Well, I learned yesterday that you can fuse the Zonai rockets to your shield. So
Yeah,
yesterday I
man.
tried
Oh,
this.
okay.
So I did two things. I fused a bomb flower to a shield, and then put the Zonai rocket into my inventory. So I jumped. I shield surfed onto the bomb one. I shot up, and then I switched over to the rocket and flew across. And I was like, oh, like I didn't realize that you could do that. And that's what I'm looking forward to when I start to get, however, 120 hours into the game, where I start to feel like, okay, I've seen a lot finally. Like
The
I've
Tony Hawk one is, I think somebody fused, I think it was a mine cart to the shield, and you could
Uh,
you do the shield surf.
there's
Was
actually,
it?
besides the minecart, there's actually a cart, a Zonai cart
Oh,
you can
that's
get.
probably what it
So
was.
it's like
Yeah,
a
and then you
flat.
could
It's like yeah,
yeah.
you could skate all around on it.
But
yeah.
I did see one that Point Crow did, where he I forget what it was, but he shield surfed onto a rail somehow. And again, I've been avoiding.
Oh yeah, I saw that clip because they were saying it looked like Sonic Adventures or whatever.
Right, yeah, I've been avoiding most things, but like every once in a while on Twitter, I will see something where I'm like, that's insane. Like
I see a lot of people torturing the Koroks.
oh my god.
Yeah, that's a new thing.
Yeah,
I
well,
saw somebody made like basically like a barbecue like spit that they were
uh-huh.
spinning them on.
I saw that.
Yeah, I see that clip.
Yeah,
over
Yeah, I saw that clip.
fire.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm so happy they're back. And it's funny how like we've talked in episodes before about like how like prior to the internet, like different habits we would have around playing games, even though there wasn't that connection, that immediate connection perhaps. But like the amount of long sticks that I've seen on Twitter and on YouTube, like that's what everyone's first idea is, like, let's just make the longest stick pop, like, or how many things can we fuse before they're like no more.
That was
Yeah.
kind of what I did with the dynamite that I was telling you, the exploding barrels. I fused a bunch of them together and threw it at the bokoblins.
I remember seeing something about if I go back to the Korok, some guy, there's sometimes you have to get like, there's a lost Korok and he needs to go find his buddy, who's like, you have to look for the smoke and you have to you have to bring him to his buddy, usually, and you
Yeah.
have to complete the puzzle. I saw one guy just attach him to a rocket, aim for his mate, and just sent him flying, and actually made it to his mate. So stuff doing the puzzle, I'm just gonna send him, just launch him across. And it works.
Oh,
And
I can imagine
yeah.
there's going to be some great trick shot videos eventually, because Breath of the Wild had so many with the with its, like, you would freeze an object and build up all the kinetic energy and
Yep.
like
Stasis.
yeah, stasis. I'm sure we're going to see a lot of stuff like that with this game eventually.
Oh sure, the physics are just out of control in this game. They're just, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, I remember there was a recent interview with Al Numa, who said basically they took on what people were doing in Breath of the Wild, and they don't care if people, like, quote, like, cheat. They're happy because if that's how you want to play, you know what I mean? Like, the sandbox is yours. You play any way you want. So they have no issue of you trying to break the game, with the physics and stuff like that. They spent 6 years obviously crafting a new game, but also with the fuse
That
and the
actually
ultra.
reminds me, talking about the development, I saw an interesting article this week that it was like speculating about how Breath of the Wild had to make sacrifices because, if you remember, it was also released on the Wii U, which I guess is a little less powerful than the Switch. I don't really know much about the specs, but basically the article was speculating that a lot of the stuff that we have in this game probably was like should have been in Breath of the Wild from the beginning, but because they were releasing it on the Wii U as well, we kind of got shortchanged. But at the same time, they also spent 6 years on it, so they couldn't have been that far with it.
Well,
Yeah,
I've been seeing the like what the wording I've been seeing around a lot of different videos or bloggers is tech demo. It's like people now are thinking of Breath of the Wild perhaps as like a tech demo, and this game is just the polished version of that. Whether or not you agree with it, because it is such a different game that uses all new abilities.
Yeah.
So,
and then there's also the ones who say this is just Breath of the Wild DLC, and I'm like, man, you've got
This
some
is not
crazy
DLC.
expectations for how much should be in a DLC package, buddy.
well, go ahead, Kevin. Put it to rest. I mean, we know it's not a DLC anymore.
Yeah,
And
people are still saying it though, and I'm like, you clearly haven't played. Like, this is a full game.
can I just
This is a full game and a half.
and can I just say, like, I don't really care too much about the labels. Like, if you want to give me Zelda DLC, hey, I'll buy it. Like, I will play it. Like, I mean, if you want to call it that, that's perfectly fine. But it doesn't change the amount of enjoyment that people are having with the game.
No, I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
I love that there's caves in this game too. Can we just acknowledge that I said multiple times that that's what I wanted out of this game, and we got it. Like I want my Tomb Raider Zelda is what I said, I think, last week. And that I love going through those caves. I love exploring every corner of them. There's new enemies in the caves. I love that this game has new enemies.
I hate that.
They didn't have to do that.
That damn suction thing in a cave, the one
Yep.
with the spikes.
Yes.
Oh, the right?
That's it. That thing. That stupid
He eats
thing.
bombs,
Yeah, I know. But
Okay.
like when I first saw him, I was just like, and then I went around the corner. I thought I'll just avoid him. I don't want to deal with him. And then I got eaten up by another one who was hiding behind the corner at one cave, and I was just like, seriously, you really did that? You put two of these so I'm holding my language back. You put two of these guys
funny
in.
that I just realized is, like, to tie in with my complaint earlier where I was like, I don't want to build anything, and the thing that I like is I want to explore the caves. That's exactly how I play Minecraft. I never learned how to build these crazy things you see on the internet in Minecraft. I would just build like a cube house and have like a square pen for my animals, but I spent all my time exploring the caves underground in Minecraft, and now I'm like, that's what I'm doing in Zelda. I don't want to build any cars. I just want to dig through the caves.
But the good thing about you, because like you, I mean, do you know how to, that little spiritual glowy little like animal thing that you shoot
frog
and it
thing.
shoots out money?
Yeah.
No, on the outside of the
On the
cave.
outside, yeah.
There's,
Oh,
you
the
see
rabbit
a little
thing.
bunny. Yeah. So I worked out that when you shoot it, when it runs away, it actually heads towards a cave. So kind of,
Oh,
yeah. So if you shoot it and follow it, like when it disappears, it'll take you towards a cave or a point of interest that you can't see, like a hidden entrance, like an entrance or something like that. So I followed it. Every time I shoot one, I follow it. It's because if you talk to an NPC in the area, like, oh, we're looking, supposedly there's a cave here and there's like some sort of clothing or something in there, or because there's like, there is in some of the caves, there are some, some good stuff in caves that you can find that will help you. But yeah, if you shoot that little bunny, you collect the money, and then if you chase after it, when it disappears, where it ends, 9 times out of 10 will be out near a cave that's been hidden away.
nice.
Right. It's a bloopy. Is the
Yeah, bloopy.
Oh,
that's
yep.
one.
Yeah, the blue. Because when I first saw it, I thought, oh, because in Breath of the Wild you have to take a photo of it, and they're not like you only see them in a few different spots. So I thought, oh, so I was chasing after it, and then I realized that must be the reason why. But I was in a cave. I was in a cave, and I realized you could break through this one wall, and I broke through it, and it opened up, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then you can break through it again, and eventually, I don't know where it was in the map, but I'll tell you that I had to do what's the mechanic, the up mechanic, the one where you shoot up.
Ascend.
Yeah, I had to ascend out of there because I was going to die. But I can tell you that, like, I didn't, whatever cave I was in, I didn't make it to the end. And I was like, how massive is this game? Like, and I was just like,
I love Ascend, by the way, too.
yeah,
While we're on the subject, it's so like I don't know what it is about it, but you just feel like you discovered something every time.
right. Well, I was doing a shrine yesterday. I forget, and I was really lost, and I was looking through, and then I was like, oh, you just ascend to the top. Like that was it. So there are moments where I'm like, oh, like you're thinking about it too much. Like you're making it too difficult. Like there
I wonder why they decided to redesign the look of the shrines. I That was something that like I don't have a feeling on it either way. It's not a negative, not a positive. I'm just kind of curious. Like, huh?
I think they're
I
great.
think it's just
Wonder
supposed to
what?
match. Yeah, I think it's supposed to match the Zonai power or Zonai device, like technology. Yeah, but isn't but
Okay.
wasn't the Guardians Zonai technology anyway?
Uh, I I think so, but I do agree that was the influence of it, and I love the design of them. I think mainly because I hated the design in Breath of the Wild. I thought they were just kind of silly, like they were kind of. I never felt like they fit. And then if you played,
Yeah, and it would really feel like you were playing the same
yeah,
game if those were the same. Like they kind of had to change
and
it.
then if you were
Mm.
playing the Zelda DLC, if you remember, they had the really tall guys. Like they just like
Oh
shot
yeah.
out of the
Yep.
ground, and they're real skinny and real tall. And I was like, this is like you just made them, taller. So I just like just I like how the natural look of them, and I love like opening chests now are so cool. Putting your hand
Mm.
on the shrine to open it, everything just feels like butter. You know, it just everything just feels
It's
smoother.
more It's more mystical.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? If that makes
it,
sense.
yeah. So I don't know if that's going to wear off over time. I'll include my negative. I've already came across one blessing. I think I mean, there's over 150 shrines, and in Breath of the Wild, I thought there were too many blessings where you go in and there's nothing. You just get your chest and that's it. Um,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's usually a shrine
It was
quest.
usually like yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The puzzle was finding the shrine.
yeah,
Yeah.
but my normie criticism is always going to be give me more. Like just like I want more. Like I want like if it was up to me, there would be puzzles, of course, in every shrine. You know, like don't just I
Mm.
don't want to just have it. So I don't know how many blessings they're going to be, but I'll be interested to see by the end of my playthrough, am I feeling this? Am I having the same feelings of like discovery and like, oh, this all feels still so mystic and magical? Um,
I
Wi-
love too. I found a shrine where it was kind of like that island in Breath of the Wild where you were stripped down to just your
oh,
underwear and you
Eventide,
had to like um
Eventide.
yeah, and you had to like survive your way through. And there's apparently a few of these in the game and I love that concept where you
Oh,
have to kind of like build your way back
oh,
up.
really?
mm.
Yeah.
I love Eventide Island. I love it because I just want a Zelda roguelike. Like,
I forget what it said, but there was something about the name of the shrine that implied that it's not the only one that's like that. It was like maybe it said like beginner or something. I don't know, but it definitely implied to me that there's going to be more of these.
ooh, yeah, yeah. Because
Interesting.
I love that concept of like. I mean, it's very easy to cheat on Eventide Island if you want to, but
Yep.
you just have to drop right before that. uh, but I always love that idea of here's one level and you have to try to become more and more powerful as you go along by looting
I
or
guess the DLC did that too, when you were going down the different
yeah,
levels.
but I
Yeah.
hated that one. That one was too difficult.
Oh, okay. This might be more like that, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'll take it. I'm joking. I mean, I still finished it, but
Yeah.
I did. I remember I remember dying quite a few times. Finishing that
With
DLC.
with the shrines that you've been talking about, the new combat shrines, the combat ones, I think are a lot better than the previous ones because this time around they focus on one specific combat, like archery or something like that, or you need to do a
Oh
specific.
yeah, yeah.
So it's like teaching you the mechanics, like like if you weren't good at, like headshotting with a bow and arrow, you know, by doing this shrine, it's trying to help you, force you to do it, so you know it. So I feel like they put more effort into the combat one instead, just like the last one in Breath of the Wild, where you just go to the Guardian and just try and beat it. At least this time around, it's trying to give you an effort to try and teach you. And then people who are a bit more advanced will get through it really quickly. And the people who are not so much, this is, they pick up something new and try and learn, and they can probably use it, like the bullet time effect with the like when you're in the air and you hold down the bow and it gives you like the slow motion, the bullet time,
Yep.
things like that. So I kind of feel the combat, at least the combat trials in shrines in this game, is probably a lot better, especially at teaching new players and stuff like that, the different mechanics they can use to beat enemies.
Yeah, I totally.
While we're on the subject of
Totally agree.
shrines, oh, go ahead.
No, I said I totally agree, but I think in Breath of the Wild, it's just the one in Kakariko that actually teaches you how to like parry
Yeah.
and how to fury rush or whatever it's called. So yeah, I totally agree. That's all.
While we're on the subject of shrines, here's where I'm coming from in relation to them, because I want to talk about two quality of life improvements this game makes, which might be my favorite thing about the game, period. Um, is so my wife likes to play Breath of the Wild, but she has me do all the shrines for her. She really only cares about like finding Koroks and finding items. So I've done all the shrines in Breath of the Wild like 5 times each because she keeps starting new files. But anyway, um, it's so annoying that her inventory will be full and you always find the treasure chests inside the shrines, and every single time you got to open your menu and go over to a sword and drop it, or a shield and drop it, a bow and drop it. So first quality of life improvement is that they let you do that right from opening the chest, which is amazing.
Yes.
I'm so glad I don't have to
Yes.
do that anymore. And the second one I'm starting to notice is that the chests in the shrines tend to have better items than they had in Breath of the Wild. I've gotten 2 stamina potions, um, a health potion, and I think a ruby or something. So like stuff that doesn't like go into an inventory that's already full. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, no.
So
I
I
agree.
think they definitely stepped up the chests.
Yeah, quality of life, I think so. And also a bit more rewarding. Like I got last night, I went to 2 different shrines and I got diamonds, which is pretty much the highest, like one of the highest minerals you can get. Because I remember I was on the hunt for the glider suit set. And I remember on the way, I went to a few shrines and I remember picked up a few diamonds and stuff like that. So, and I checked, I went to a seller. I didn't sell them, but from the cost of selling it, I can get like, almost 1,000 rupee just for one diamond. So,
Have you seen
but
the
then
duplication glitch people are using online?
I've seen it.
I've
I've
heard of
seen
it,
it, but I'm
but I
not
haven't
going
seen
to
it.
use it just yet.
I'm not using, I haven't used it either, but people were using it to sell the diamonds and make lots of money. But I have a feeling that's going to get patched out in like a week anyway. It reminds me of when Breath of the Wild first launched. There
Yes.
was, it's not really a glitch, but there was a way where you could get a ton of arrows by just holding your wood shield and letting all the arrows go, letting your enemy shoot the wood shield with arrows. You collect the arrows, you put the shield back up, collect the arrows, put the shield back up. And eventually they put a cap on that mechanic where you couldn't keep doing it. But
Right.
like the first week of Breath of the Wild, you could get like 100 arrows doing that easy.
I remember. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, right. Speaking of quality of life, and this is like a super small thing that I really noticed is that in Breath of the Wild in the menu, you would scroll to the left and right using your right stick, and in this game, you use the left and right triggers.
Bumpers?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, triggers.
or bumpers,
Could
or
could you do
uh,
could you use the bumpers in Breath of the Wild as a second option?
I don't.
I think you
You
could,
could.
but not to the extent. I can't remember if it was to the extent where it's more seamless now compared to how it was a bit
Yeah.
clunky in
Either
Breath of the
way,
Wild.
I agree with what Harrison is
Yeah.
saying. Is that the
Regardless,
menu is
like,
better?
I mean, if you could change it, then I'm not surprised. I mean, I'm sure I've done things like that, but just like yeah, the little things that you're doing all the time that I mean, there's been other Nintendo games where I've just been like especially I'm a huge Animal Crossing fan where I'm like why does it have to be like this? Like it could be so much easier and it wouldn't take any extra effort in my opinion. Uh so yeah. Uh Kevin, what do you think about the monsters so far? There's tons of them, tons of new monsters.
Yeah, like I was saying, I like that they took the time to add new monsters. That's something they didn't have to do. They could have just added like a small handful, but it seems like they went all out in both adding new and redesigning old monsters. Like there's different bokoblins that didn't exist before, and different everything. So yeah, I love the selection of enemies you get here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, and they also by adding the enemies, like the drops on the enemies, like horns and stuff like that, and different levels of enemy, like blue, red, black, and then with those horns, you can fuse them to your weapons to add more attack power or defense. So I think they're really with the monsters, killing the monsters. Besides getting their guts and their horns for like, if you want to use it as currency for what's the guy called? The mob, the guy that get the guy likes taking all the monster parts as currency. I can't remember his
Oh,
name. Colton.
yeah, I know what you mean though.
Colton.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Besides doing that, but at least now you can use those monster parts now as part of your like shield for weapons. Obviously, food as well. So I think they've really added an extra dynamic with the enemies this time, as well as updating. Giving us some new enemies, as well as updating the old enemies as well. So you're getting better use for them.
Have you guys encountered the stone talus yet?
Yes.
I don't want to ruin it.
The what?
Well, you've seen it
Which one?
you've seen it in the trailers though. The stone talus that the bokoblins are on top of, whatever we call it. Like,
Oh, that
Oh
guy.
yeah, I saw
Yeah.
it. I saw it walking around one of the towers that I was unlocking, and I ignored it.
it was
Yeah, I avoided him,
it
yeah.
was such a like I had to pause my game for a moment because I was laughing so much because I was like I didn't realize it was a stone talus. I was creepy on this lookout and I shot one of the bokoblins and all of a sudden everything just started to come up. And I was like, oh my god, like it's a talus. um so I was
There's some great designs, like that box enemy that shifts. It's almost like fighting a transformer. That thing was
Yes,
really
that
cool.
guy. I played him. I to do a shrine. I had to do a shrine on the way to get one of the glide gear, and it sent it. I unlocked the shrine. The good thing about this was the shrine. It unlocked the fast travel automatically, which was good. But I couldn't enter the shrine because the shrine was missing like a diamond or something like that. I had to go get it like a fetch quip, and this laser pointed out to where this diamond jewel thing I had to go get, and it's right on the back of the transformer looking construct, and I had to like jump down and like fight him. And
I love that you can ascend through him. Like that adds something to the battle. I don't know what, but like it just like it feels so good to just like ascend through him to get to his weak point.
I to be honest, in Breath of the Wild, I never. I think I avoided all Lionels. I think I maybe once tried to fight a Lionel. I never really tried all the
I
all the
loved
bosses.
fighting them.
But
I
this
had
time
it
around,
down
this
to a
game,
science, man. I had it down to a science. I was basically recreating the same fight every time.
but I think this game with the constructs and I've already taken on the Stone Talus in one of the caves. where you get a certain gear. I've tried like the big transformer construct and things like that. So this game, I'm trying to be more proactive in taking on the bosses, especially ones especially ones that are stopping me from getting to certain weapons or gear that I want. So I've been trying to take on stuff. So it's been pretty good experience. And speaking of armor sets, has anyone ventured out and got any armor
Nope.
sets yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, no. I saw the ones for sale in Kakariko Village, but I think there's a quest involved there because the shopkeeper mentioned that they were more expensive than they needed to be, and they were like 5,000 rupees for each piece. So
Yeah, so there's a girl near the landing. She's walking around like on some of the bridges and stuff like that. If you run into her and talk to her, she gives you a indicator on your map of certain caves to get certain. She thinks because this thread of treasure hunting. There's people treasure hunting for treasure in the world, and basically these treasures are they don't know what it is, but essentially it is gear or weapons. So if you talk to certain NPCs, they kind of mark roughly on the map some idea where supposedly legend says like a cave or something like that is. So if you follow, it's not a quest, they just mark it on your map for you, and it's up to you if you want to go look for it. And if you go look at it, you'll start finding certain pieces of armor slash or weapons. So that's what I've been doing. I've just been running around trying to caves and stuff like that to find any armor or weapons.
I missed that part. I'm gonna
yeah,
I'm gonna go,
I didn't get that either.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
gonna
have
go back.
Yeah, if you go into a cave and it has like a flag or something in the cave, like a wood, looks like someone's flag or something like that in the cave. Usually that's an indicator there's gear or weapon in there hidden in there somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that with you. So every time I've gone to a cave that's marked with a flag or something like that, like you'll clearly see it. They're around in the cave. So that means there's something treasure hidden there that you would like. That's my only advice to you that I'm going to give you.
okay.
Oh yeah. So what did you guys think? I want to go all the way back about the opening segment, because I had lots of feelings, lots of emotions, I think, about the beginning parts. Kevin, what did you think?
I loved it. I did start to miss my paraglider, like a little bit into it, where like I was jumping off lots of stuff and forgetting that I didn't have it, because I'm so used to playing Breath of the Wild. So there was that. But other than that, I didn't have any complaints. I loved exploring that whole thing. You know, it was like a bigger version of the tutorial from Breath of the Wild, and there was plenty to explore on that Sky Island.
How about just the beginning, just
Oh, the opening cinematic,
right.
You mean? Or when you're like walking,
Yeah.
like I guess it's not a cinematic because you control it, but like when you're walking down with Zelda.
Right. And I'll just add on that, like, I was surprised how quickly that we were walking with Zelda. Like, oh, like we're going down.
Yeah, and I love when games do this thing where they start you off powerful and take it away. Like you had the Master Sword, you had full hearts, you had full stamina.
Yeah. Well, I like the part where the whatever they're called, the bats, the flying guys come in, and you take out your Master Sword and you beat them, and then Zelda's like, "Link, are you okay?" I'm like, "Am I okay? I got 30 hearts. I got the Master Sword.
You saw me beat Ganon.
I beat Ganon like 30
Yeah.
minutes ago, or I don't know if it's days later. Actually, I don't know if it's years later. After
No, I think it's a couple of years later. It's a few years later.
I gathered
a couple years later. But regardless, you know how. But wow, like the music in this game has been so impressive. Like the orchestration and everything in it, and the beginning part was so spooky. Like.
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't believe how dark it went with that cutscene when you get to the bottom.
I
just want to quickly pivot because you talk about the music. Have you noticed that every time you cook, Link hums a different Zelda iconic tune?
Yes. I didn't know it was every time, but I did catch him doing it a few times.
Yeah, I've heard him. Like at least I've heard from Ocarina. I've heard Wind Waker. I've heard like at least half a dozen from like quick little. You can hear him. He hums it, and it's actually really good.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. I've been so impressed. I would love to know the inner workings of the budget for this game because the
Yeah, 6 years is gonna be a
yeah,
big budget.
and it's obvious that they just used way more. They just went way more in depth with the music in this game, in my opinion, and how it all just kind of
Well,
connects together. Like when you're going down the depths in that opening sequence, it almost sounds like things are being played in reverse, and then you start to hear that piano in the background when you are going deeper and deeper. It just the tone of it was very uh it was just done very, very well. And I always feel like when you're with Zelda, like in the game, it's a very like surreal feeling almost. To where you can actually like walk with her and like interact with her. Um, I thought it was great. And when you finally make it out of that first cave or that first area, like when you see the light, I was thinking, okay, like we're gonna walk out and they're gonna do the typical here's the open world Zelda sequence. But when we walked out and I realized that we were like way above the ground, I mean, I stood there for like 2 minutes and just looked around. I was like, oh my god. uh,
It's really nice that people know who you are too in this game, and that like it actually feels like it's connected for the first time in the Zelda series to another game. You know what I mean? Like they acknowledge what you did for Hyrule.
or they surprise when they see you. They're like, hey, we've been trying to look for you for ages, mate, and you're here.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like they're like so surprised. Like, wait, if you're here, where's Zelda?
yeah.
Things like
Yep.
that. Yeah. So yeah, because the first game, like you've been asleep for 100 years, and everyone's just like, and everyone just hates you, like or despises you.
Right.
You know, all the champions, most of the champions, just not all of them, but like some of them like despised you. You know, they're all jealous of you or some shit like that. Pardon my language. Yeah. So, but at least in this game, I'm happy that people recognize you and they recognize your like they care about you, like they really like genuinely care about you, and I feel it's a lot more warming touch and makes you feel more connected with the world. Like you want to, especially if you do like a quest or something, you want to help someone. Like you feel like they know who you are, and you kind of get the sense that they know who you are, so you're kind of obligated. You want to help them as well because they obviously know who you are and they're trying to be help you out as well. Kind of like that kind of feeling they're trying to go with.
Right. I had the same feeling. I've not there's certain parts so far that I haven't felt this way. Certain like side quests, for example. But in Breath of the Wild, it was always a feeling of the world is waiting for us to interact with it for something to happen.
Yeah.
And in this game, it feels more in the direction of like we're living in this world and we're the hero and we're the protagonist, but the world is kind of going on either way. Is my overall feeling. So it passes the vibe check for sure. Like it definitely does that.
I feel like how do you feel like the actual open world populated, like with things to do and stuff like that compared to Breath of the Wild? Do you feel like it's more significantly more populated with things to do?
Yes,
You know,
for sure.
Yeah,
Like
think
I feel like there's way less empty space in this game.
yes, I agree. I think
It seems
even
like
that
it seems like even if there's not like an NPC or somebody to talk to, there's always at least like a pile of building materials or a Korok to move to his friend or like something, an enemy base like with full of enemies. That like every few feet there's something.
yeah, I think also there's also speaking of that NPCs, there's a lot more NPCs moving in the world and doing
Mhm.
stuff. So there's
Which
actually a
is
lot more
funny because,
interaction.
like, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting. Go ahead.
No, but that's fine. That was my point. Like, there's more interaction because, like, and not just the same NPCs. There's actually random people doing random things. Like they're off. Like they're like think of it like Majora's Mask. How some people are set at certain times of the day to do certain things. I'm getting that
Yeah.
sense as well. Like you'll run into people, and then every time you see them, they're doing something different, or they have an objective which takes them all over the map. So you might see them regularly, but like at least but every time you talk to them, they're doing something different, or like they have a main objective and it's just they're trying to achieve their main objective, which I think is really, really cool.
And that's something I remember being a little disappointed with in Breath of the Wild is when I first got off the tutorial area, you see if you go, I mean, I guess it depends on which way you go, but you see these people running from being attacked and you go and you save them. And I thought the game was going to be like, that was like one of my first impressions of the game. And I thought there was going to be way more of that going on, but there really wasn't like any, like the interactions in that game were almost pointless. Like every now and then you could save someone who was being attacked by, like some enemy, but it never really amounted to much. And in this game, they're giving you like straight up side quests and stuff.
Actually, there's side quests and side adventures if you notice
Right.
in the map in your thing. So the side quests are more bite-sized stuff, where the side adventures actually a bit more meat to it, which I think
Yeah,
is
and in
really
Breath of the
cool.
Wild, you had to go to like a camp to find a side quest. Now they're all over the place.
Yeah, and even I think the side adventures as well is, like I said, is a bit more meaty. So so it actually might it could take you like an hour to complete it. It's not really essentially like a fetch quest, but like they do send you to do certain things, or they need you to do, they need your help to complete something and things like that. So I kind of like how Nintendo's giving you like the bite-sized side quests. I'm not saying they're not all bite-sized, but then they give you like adventures, which means telling us that this is much more meaty, like more time-consuming. That's gonna, give you more, like give you extra hours in the game of enjoyment and content.
Yeah, I haven't. I've heard of those, and I'm really looking forward to getting to that point because I did see like there's times where like you're taking on enemies with like other villagers, and I always wanted to do that in Breath of the Wild. Like come on, guys, like let's all get in and and fight them together. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what this playthrough is going to be like. To me, I think it's just going to be throughout the summer for me because again, like I'm just every time I'm getting on this game, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. I don't know how many shrines, and I really don't care. Like, uh, as I said, like I'm trying to avoid any main story as much as possible to get as much and to explore as much and to get as powerful as I can, and then I'll do all of those things. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be 100 hours, 200. I just don't know at this point. Um,
Yeah, well, there's nothing
Never
wrong.
gonna finish.
Like you, I've avoided after like seeing the first bit to get the paraglider. That's basically it for the main story. I've just done nothing but just looking for armor sets, or like I talked to someone. That's how I said I talked to that girl. She got like a mushroom on her head or something like that. Like, and she sent me off, and there's like, oh, there's some key. They talk about this treasure that this ultimate treasure person like put around the world and stuff like that. It's like all this stuff. So she sent me on a quest. And then from there I got sidetracked and then sidetracked and then sidetracked and then sidetracked. So essentially for like the last like 15 to 20 hours where I'm at, I've essentially just got armor, find some weapons, and just gone around. Like I've done some towers and stuff like that. I haven't really been up in the Sky Islands unless I had to do something specifically for armor set. However, I have not even set foot in the depths. Like I have not even fallen into the depths yet. Like, so I'm still just chilling and just enjoying myself until if I want to want to go down there. Also, a little bit of a side note, where the shrines are and the towers are, if you mark it if you go down the depths and mark it, say if you look at the Hyrule map where say a shrine is, if you highlight the shrine and then flick it over to the depth and then put a pin, most likely you'll find one of those lights places underneath the shrine. So they're kind of connected. So bit of a hint to try and, if you want to find those light sources to those, like, what do you call, they're like the fast travel points underground. So essentially they are under shrines on the Hyrule level. So yeah, exactly. So use that as an indicator where a shrine is, and then highlight the shrine and then flick it down to the depths map and then click the pin. 90% you're going to see a fast travel point in the depths around that area.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't ventured down there either, and have no idea at what point I will. Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Can't believe it. It looks massive though.
Alrighty. Well, that is an hour of Tears of the Kingdom talk. I think we we could talk about it forever.
Kevin, I do want to finish with one thing though, if I could. You real quick.
Yeah.
Well, basically, like I've been saying that I don't want to get wrapped up in hyperbole this first week, but Breath of the Wild is, of course, like a top 5 game for me, and it's a top 5 important game for me as far as like just getting me back into gaming or getting me into like different kinds of games. But I honestly think that Tears of the Kingdom is better, and I don't know how to exactly feel about that, but I do know, based on the numbers they're doing, that this has to be the blueprint for the future of not all Zelda games necessarily, but this has to be the blueprint of some of these AAA, of course, some of these other Zelda games in the future. And I'm struggling with knowing, how many of my top 5 games can be a Zelda game. Because they basically made a better sequel to one of my favorite games, and now I'm like, I don't know what to do, because like, do I put like, and honestly, I know it doesn't matter too much. It's just my list, and these lists don't, and it doesn't matter, but it kind of matters to me a little bit as far as the context goes, because in a few years we could have another Zelda game, and I'm like, oh, well, Tears of the Kingdom is now worse than this one. So that's all. That's the last thing I wanted to say.
All right, yeah, we'll all give final thoughts, I guess, because I've got a note here I actually didn't even mention, and it kind of goes with what you were saying, is the hyperbole. I've been seeing online though some crazy takes of people kind of, and you know what? If this is how you feel, it's valid, but I don't know how else to say this. I'll just get it all out there. I've seen some people already saying that this is the best game of all time. And I'm just like, maybe, but I feel like saying that right now, that's like proposing on the third date. Like, it's like, you've had this game a week. Let's see how it settles first. It's kind of the same vibe as like asking someone to marry you, like straight out of the gate. Like, come on, the greatest game of all time. We'll see, but it's too soon to be saying it. That's for sure.
I think to be honest, what Nintendo has now with the Zelda franchise is that they have 3 types of Zeldas now, genres in a sense. Let's use that as an indicator. You have your 2D one, like top down. You have your more restricted one, like your Ocarina, and then you have your open world one, like the current Zeldas. Now, Nintendo can be smart and then have, while they're building a new like 3D Zelda, they can make a 2D Zelda. You know what I mean? Like, and back, you know what I mean? Back
I hope they are.
Because I feel like a lot of people feel, because Ocarina of Time, what it did for the genre and Zelda, and what a lot of nostalgia people have, is that it was a much more linear game. Because at the time, Al-Numa said in an interview recently, is that Ocarina of Time, it was just because of the hardware and the times, they were restricted, so they couldn't give what they actually wanted to give. You know what I mean? But that Zelda was so good that it was the blueprint for the following, Wind Waker, Twilight
Well, yeah,
Princess.
a lot of the stuff they wanted to do in Ocarina of Time, they didn't even get to do until Breath of the Wild. Like
Exactly.
some of those concepts for Breath of the Wild started with Ocarina of Time, and they just didn't have the ability yet.
Exactly. And he was just saying that he feels going forward, Breath of the Wild style, that open world Zelda, can be the next step going forward. He does recognize that there are a lot of people that earn like that that want that linear, bit more linear, not closed off, but like like Ocarina style game, which I can understand. As I still consider Ocarina of Time my favorite game of all time. To me but that's more based on nostalgia, because as a kid that influence that has on me, and it's still, I feel, is my favorite game. But like I feel that, like I kind of feel like in future Zelda games, that yes, they can do open world, but I kind of feel like if we can go back to a system where we don't need the superpowers we have now, where it can be a bit more linear, where you might need like a hook shot to get into a certain area, so a bit more restricted, a little bit more restricted in a sense. Still have an open world, but still have a bit of restrictions put on place to challenge. Still have your ways of doing puzzles and stuff like that, but like kind of restricted in a way that you can use certain items to complete certain things. You know what I mean? Which Tears of the Kingdom does do. Don't get me wrong. You use certain items to complete certain things, but I kind of miss like something like the hook shot. I was kind of hoping there'll be some sort of hook shot in this game. You know what I mean? Like we got to send, so having a hook shot is not really game breaking. So I'm kind of bummed we didn't get a hook shot. I was hoping for a hook shot in this game, but yeah. But do you understand what I mean? Like Nintendo now has a format they can pick and choose.
I'm actually, I totally understand what you mean, because I'm actually one of the people who, I almost see this as a separate series. It's like I get that it's still Zelda, but I'm like, this is like, it's almost like how the Game Boy Mega Man games were a separate, or Mega Man X. That's a better way to look at it. This is like, you got Mega Man Classic and Mega Man X. This is like, you got regular Legend of Zelda and this, and like you said, you also have top down Legend of Zelda. So yeah, I see this as almost like a completely separate thing, and I hope they do still make games in the traditional sense, because like I always think back to that tech demo they did for the Wii U.
Yes,
That game, that thing looks so cool, where he was fighting that giant spider, and I'd like something more like that.
And if that was the tech demo on that hardware, Switch being better hardware than the Wii U was now, like I kind of want a Zelda like that, which is more like Twilight Princess, where darker, grittier, more mature, Zelda. The story.
But maybe it'll be like Mario, because Mario's got like, sometimes they do side scrolling, sometimes they do sandbox, sometimes they do galaxy, where it's like, I wouldn't call that sandbox. I don't know what you'd call it, but it's like little segments, So like they'll keep changing it up. That's what Nintendo does.
Yeah, but I'll be good to have like, if they can make like similar Twilight Princess, all that tech demo, like you said, like if they can make a Zelda, hopefully when new hardware comes out and they can have push the engine, a new game engine, maybe they can make something much more grittier, like the one we saw in that tech demo, like how, because Link looked really good, the spider looked really good, the reflections, the combat, it was almost, it was very good. I remember that tech demo.
Yeah,
well.
and we've talked on here, and we've learned that there's no lack of fans or no lack of eyeballs at this point. I'm actually surprised, confused that within the 7-year span between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, that we didn't get a different kind of Zelda game. But we've talked on here, like Link's Awakening sold 6 million copies, and that was an identifier to show us that if you give us a Zelda game, whether it's top down 2D, something more like Ocarina, we will play it, or enough people will play it. Like, if 20% of people that play Breath of the Wild play a new Zelda game, that's a success. That's really.
Well, yeah, Tears of the Kingdom has already sold 10 million units. It hasn't
crazy.
even been a week yet.
That's so
Yeah.
That's so many.
So, like
The
you
attach
said,
rate's gonna be crazy.
if 10% of those people play another Zelda game, that's already a million.
Yeah.
Math.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because if we look at 30 million copies, Breath of the Wild, right, and Tears of the Kingdom could sell close to that amount within the 5-6 year window. Yeah, if only a small percentage of those
Oh
people
yeah.
play a new game, it's a big success.
Yeah, I agree,
This
hundred
thing's gonna
percent.
sell 30 million units easy.
Yeah, it'll do 30 mil. Because you remember the Switch now is what, over 20 million?
Yeah, and Breath of the Wild, I think off the top of my head was like
Well,
26
but
million.
wait a moment
So
though. Wait a moment. But this is coming out. But wait a second. But what if Tears of the Kingdom is out and the next Switch comes next summer? Then what? Like
that is
then
gonna be a
then
factor for
then does it
sure, and we're just
sell?
gonna have to wait and see on that.
It
I don't
Well,
think it's gonna come out in the summer though. I think they're gonna announce something because they have a tech thing jig booked
yeah,
for
September or
September.
yeah, they hinted at something, a tech thing. So
So
I
I don't think
think
it'll be out in summer. They might announce it in summer and then show it to us in September, but I don't
yeah,
think
I
it'll
think
be out in summer.
I think they're gonna tease in September, like they did with remember the old NX.
Mhm.
Remember that
Yep. Oh
before
yeah.
the Switch. Remember how it was
Yep.
called the NX, and it was like the NX, the NX, the NX. You know,
That brings
they
back
saw like
memories.
everyone was trying to find out what this is, and then how surprising when you watch that Switch reveal, you're just like, what? You know, you're thinking NX, you're thinking a home console like Wii U or Wii U or Wii or something like that. Everyone's thinking like that, and then Nintendo's just going, nah, we're just gonna go handheld. You
I
know, and the
remember
thing is,
caring more about, and it's appropriate for this podcast. I remember I cared more about getting to play Breath of the Wild than I cared that there was a new Nintendo system at the time because I was following Breath of the Wild's development when it was just a Wii U game, and like they had like that trailer for it, and there was a
2014,
long
yeah,
yeah, there was a long period of time where they only announced it as a Wii U game. So I was following it all through that. And then when they announced it was going to be on the next system, I was like, well, I might as well get it with the new system, like start that library. But it was almost like an afterthought.
mm.
It was like, yeah, I'm getting the new Zelda. I'll get it on the new system so I have something to play on that new system, in case there's not any good games for it otherwise. And it's like now it's like my biggest library.
No, 100%. I think uh, the thing is now, like, do you feel that Nintendo will stay the handheld route? You know, like you can
Oh, that's a
dock
whole
and that.
separate podcast.
I know, but
If we want to start speculating about that,
I was just thinking that.
I don't think so, but we'll see. Like I think that'll disappoint a lot of people if they don't, but I also feel like they like making every system completely different than the previous one.
You know
So
what? I,
it's gonna
I think
disappoint people, but I think they're gonna go
it's got to be
regular console.
handheld.
I no. You know what's going to
See,
happen?
I'm already disappointing people, but I don't
This
think they're gonna do it.
this is what's going to happen. They're going to build like a traditional console like Xbox and that, right? A bit more beef, bit more power, right? However, I feel the Switch is going to be able to connect to it. You know, so you can use your
That would be
current
cool.
because Switch. I think the Switch will the Switch. There'll be a way the Switch to be able to connect, either
I've said before, I
wirelessly
think
or
what they could do is just keep supporting the Switch like they did the 3DS while they
yeah,
had the Wii U and the Wii.
yeah. But the thing is, with the technology the Switch has, I feel with this new console, I think it's going to be a home console that you can't take with you. However, I feel the Switch will be like the Wii U in a sense that it can be used as a gamepad or something that will mirror or marry with the new home console. You know what I mean? And that will be the gimmick.
We'll
I,
have to wait and see.
Yeah.
It's weird because the industry is kind of moving towards handheld. Like PlayStation keeps kind of hinting that they're going to get back into the handheld game. Xbox has their way to play their stuff on the go. It is kind of moving that
which is a
direction. So who
result
knows?
of Nintendo. I mean, it's a
It
result.
is.
It's a result of
100%.
the success of it. I don't see, like, it could be mainly a home console, but I don't see Nintendo completely giving away accessibility to playing their games handheld at this point because too many people
And that's
too
why
Maybe
That's why I said it
Maybe I
connects
don't.
to the new systems.
Yeah, maybe I don't see it because I only play my Switch docked, so it doesn't really like make a difference to me.
I
But
only
we'll
play
see.
handheld, and I just, with the amount of handhelds that are going to be coming out or going to be rumored, like I can't see Nintendo going away from that and then having these people say, well, I still want to play handheld.
Yeah,
I'm gonna I'm gonna
take their
move
seat.
over to these more powerful systems. Like I get it. Like if you want to play Nintendo games, you get the Nintendo console. I get it. But I if there's at least not cloud play, some kind of accessibility, I would be very surprised.
Well, isn't Nintendo good friends with
Yep.
Microsoft recently? I'm sure Microsoft will offer their technical because you remember Sony uses Microsoft servers for their for their cloud gaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Sony brought their own cloud gaming, their service, the Gaikai, what it was called, and then they asked Microsoft because Microsoft has their servers, their cloud and their servers and that set up around the world. Sony asked Microsoft years ago to help them with their cloud, like with their service to help them. So in a sense, even though Sony likes to crap on Microsoft a lot, actually Sony uses Microsoft to help them with their services. With their so yeah, maybe Nintendo will ask Microsoft for help as well.
Why not? I mean, especially, and if it was for the online service, I mean, for sure,
Yeah,
because
infrastructure because Microsoft has the infrastructure already in
because
place.
when it comes to online gaming, I can really only think of one Nintendo game where I've had like pretty decent online experience, and it's not even really a game that I play too much. So, um, sp-
Whole different
We'll have to
podcast.
wait
spotlight
and
game.
see what Nintendo has. And yeah, I'm almost wondering at this point if we should just wait for Sean next week. I know you played. I know you played a lot of
Oh
Mean Bean
no,
Machine, but
I really didn't. I really didn't. Yeah,
oh,
I'm
okay.
fine. You know, I would hate for the listeners that mainly tuned in today to hear about Mr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. Like they're like, where is it? Where's the timestamp? Come on.
I should figure out how to timestamp these, but oh yeah, I don't know if you can do that for podcasts, but anyway,
I don't think so.
yeah. Thank everyone for listening. We'll do Mean Bean Machine next week with Sean. We got plenty of podcasts this week. As always, keep in mind, we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So if you'd like to send us any corrections on anything we said, let us know anything we should be talking about. Nintendo Therapy Pod at gmail.com or at Nintendo Therapy on Twitter. Actually didn't check the Gmail today, but I'm willing to bet it's the same as always, and there's going to be nothing there. But maybe if I keep talking about it like this, people will send us something, so they'll hear me find it live on the air. Nope, nothing
Leave
in the
us a
Gmail.
comment down below. Pew, pew, pew. I feel like if I keep staying on this show, I need to add like stingers or something, like different sound effects. But that's for the future.
Well, thank you
been
guys
good.
for taking the time, and we'll
Yes.
you're all welcome back next week. We'll do this again.
I got my timing right in because last week I missed out because of daylight savings changed in our country, and I was off by an hour or so.
Oh,
So this time, make sure
yeah,
at least that I woke up very early today, so to make sure I was on time because I am from the future as always.
Nice.
So just wanted to make sure that I was on time this time, which has been good. And as always, thank you very much. Really appreciate it for having me here.
All right, same next week, same Nintendo time, same Nintendo channel.
All right, see you guys.